The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
How do you learn what you know? It's either taught to you or it's gained through experience. Today on Farm Connections, we'll look at both methods of learning as they relate to agriculture. First, I'm joined in the studio with two educators who are helping our children learn more about the importance of agriculture. Then we'll meet a pair of twins who share their vast knowledge of agriculture, which they gained through 2 lifetimes of farming. And we'll meet the next FFA Student Leader of the Week, all next on Farm Connections.
Welcome to Farm Connections with your host, Dan Hoffman.
I'm at the Root River Antique Tractor Show in rural Racine in Spring Valley, Minnesota. What a great place to connect with the people of agriculture and our history. Everybody has a story, every piece of machinery, every old car, every building has a story. What a great place for our history and our heritage to come alive. Nowadays, there seems to be a growing divide between food consumers and food producers. Many people just don't know where their food comes from, and they don't appreciate the importance of agriculture to our economy and society. To counter this, the Minnesota Department of Agriculture sponsors a school curriculum that acquaints students with farming. I met with Al Withers of the MDA and teacher Jen Hanson of Owatonna to learn more about ag in the classroom. When you first envisioned getting this started in the 80s, what was your mission or objective?
Well, the first one was to get agriculture to support the concept so that we could get money to start a program. And second would be to make sure we did what teachers want and to make sure that we tried to fit agriculture into the context of their classroom and their curriculum. So we listened a lot to teachers on how they might bring agriculture to life in their classroom.
Jen, how's it working?
It's working great. I absolutely love it. My kids love it. My colleagues love it. It's a fabulous program. And the best part is that it comes to us free.
Absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
So it comes into your school and you open it up like a Christmas present, and what do you do with it?
Well, we get it out into the kids' hands. That's the first thing to do. I use several of the products that Al's team puts together. I use the AgMag Senior. We also use the Food for Thought and the Minnesota Mapping. And I'm anxiously awaiting a new product that he just put out, and that's Healthy Eating in Minnesota. And he just showed that to me today, so I'm very anxious to get that out to my students this year.
How do you introduce it to your students, and what does it teach them?
Well, the Minnesota standards have Minnesota history and geography placed at the 6th grade level. And so I am able to embed what AgMag and what Al's team puts together into my classroom using the Northern Lights text that's put out by the Minnesota Historical Society. But it's just a supplemental piece that I'm able to use that doesn't add anything new to my plate. I can embed it right into what I'm already doing, and it takes a historical look at agriculture as well as a more modern day look at agriculture.
And I'm sensing you're already busy as a teacher, and most teachers don't want more requirements, they want more results.
Right.
So this allows you to do that without a lot of extra work.
Exactly. When we adopted the new standards, I was in charge of pulling together the pieces that my team at Willow Creek would use. And one of the teachers in our building said, you've got to get in contact with Al Withers and get some of these pieces into the kids' hands. And that's exactly what I did. And he was it was like Christmas for us when we got all of these materials available to us for free. And they're, as you can see, they're beautiful. They're very aesthetically pleasing, and the kids just absolutely love them.
Al, when you got contacted to visit the Owatonna School, and Jen, what did you do next?
Well, first of all, let me back up and say that Jen is one of those teachers that does this right. One of the challenges that agriculture has is the perception that when teachers or principals hear the word agriculture, they think it's down the hall in the ag program, which it is. But they completely eliminate the notion of contextual learning and integration. And so when I say Ag in the Classroom, where Jen takes the magazine into her classroom, it's all about not stopping and teaching agriculture separate. It's about embedding it into her social studies, her science, her language arts. And so she's doing exactly what we want teachers to do with ag in the classroom materials. So when I was introduced to Jen, number one, you're always looking for teachers that are passionate. You're also looking for teachers that are good teachers that can spread the word, and teachers that want to embrace your materials and allow it to help them do their job better.
Jen, does it help make the rest of your curriculum, the geography, the history, and other things come alive?
Absolutely. I mean, just focusing on the Ag Mag Senior, it comes not only with the magazines, each student gets one that's free that they can take home. It comes with a teacher's resource guide that the teachers can use. And you can choose to use that, or you can choose to adopt it. Sometimes I will use the teacher materials that come right here with it. It highlights vocabulary that's going to be introduced. It highlights key topics that need to be done. It has some student activities that can be completed in the classroom. And my kids absolutely love it. And they connect to it. They live in Minnesota. It's part of them. And Minnesota, you know, agriculture is the backbone of Minnesota. And so it's important that they are aware that it's not just the food on their table, but that agriculture is everywhere. It's in the clothing they're wearing, it's in the makeup that they have on, it's in the pencil they're holding in their hand and the paper that they're writing on. It is everywhere.
Do they know that when they first start?
No, they really don't. And so the Ag Mag helps us put that together, helps piece that puzzle for them.
Well, they go to the grocery store to get food. So their notion of where you get food is at this grocery store. So they're completely disconnected, and you know, Jen is able to back them up and make those connections and help them understand that the grocery store is the end result, but there was lots involved to get it there.
Being from southern Minnesota, a lot of the students in my classroom are coming from a farming background, and this makes a connection for them, and they're able to share their experiences and their farming stories with the other students in my classroom that don't have that.
Well, Jen, you mentioned the parents seeing the materials. Any feedback from the parents?
Absolutely. I've gotten lots of feedback from parents, and they're saying, thanks for sharing that, and thanks for what a great tool. And on a piece that I sent home with them, I let them know that this is something that comes free from the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, so that they're aware that this is something that's out there and something that's helping us do our job better in the classroom.
What's important about agriculture? Why do we have to tell the story?
Well, you'd be naked, hungry, and would not have any place to live. And that's the bottom line.
That's really serious. I don't want to go
there. It's very serious. No. It's everywhere you go. It's part of your daily life. It's part of society. You cannot have an agless day. That's our theme. You cannot have a day without agriculture.
Well, I heard you when we started talking about, and Jen, the disconnect of people not understanding where their food, fiber, fuel, and feed comes from.
Right.
Long range, that probably has some implications, such as not being a knowledgeable voter, making regulations and policies that harm agriculture and harm our food supply. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, and our biggest challenge, and that's why we do a teacher guide, or try to, and we need to do, and we'll do more teacher education, is that the day of teachers having a connection to agriculture is dwindling and dwindling, so that the new cadre of teachers are displaced from agriculture, and it's a subject that they're not comfortable bringing into the classroom. So in order to get them comfortable, we have to give them very good materials, materials that help them as a teacher, so that they become the subject area expert and want to step out of their box a little bit and embrace agriculture. So in the next 10 to 20 years, it's going to be our major challenge to train teachers, not only to work with the materials and the contextual learning piece, but content. How does agriculture fit with them? Because then they can tell that story to their kids.
Jen, any thoughts on that?
Well, and integrating technology. Our classroom is changing every day. It's no longer the chalkboard or the overhead projector, but it's the smart board. And Al and I were talking earlier about how now do we take these materials and add that technology piece and make them more interactive for kids.
How do you use exercises or projects to bring this into the classroom?
One of my favorite, or one of the students' favorite activities is we have an Ag Mag feud. kind of fashioned after the Family Feud, where it's an individual competition and a team competition. But after the kids have had some opportunity to read, discuss the Ag Mag, then they write their own questions, and I take those questions, and teams come up to compete against each other. They ring the bell, and I ask the question, and it's all related to the Ag Mag. The kids, it's all student directed. I'm just kind of there orchestrating and directing the whole thing, but the kids write their own questions. The kids do their own study and reading of the material, and then the kids have the competition together, and they absolutely love Ag Mag Feud.
So they're learning social skills, communication skills, writing skills, and interdynamic
and
relationships.
It's all embedded, and I don't have to do anything. I'm not the sage on the stage anymore. I'm putting the learning right back on them.
So they possibly learn some leadership skills as well?
Absolutely.
But you got to be a good teacher. So I was in the school. I was in the school the day they did this, and believe me, the kids learn because the teacher is fired up, and the teacher's passionate, and the teacher gives them good ways to learn. And so not only were the kids really fired up that day, but every teacher in her group was really, really interested in helping them learn about agriculture.
She set the environment, and it was conducive to learning.
Right.
Good job, Jen.
Thank you.
Is every 6th grade teacher in the Owatonna school system
Yes.
integrated into this
We have
program?
4 social studies teachers in my building, and we are all using the Ag Mag and the Food for Thought.
What percentage of our public schools in Minnesota use it?
Well, there's 540 schools using the Ag Mag. I think in Minnesota there's like 1,500 schools maybe, but they're not all K-6. So we have a large portion of schools that use it.
Jen, earlier we were talking about exercises or projects in the classroom. Any food-related things where you bring food in and...
Well, one of the favorite issues is the issue that they talk about pizza. And of course, when I ask the students, what is your favorite food, 90% of them are going to say pizza. And it talks about how the ingredients that go into making a pizza are grown right here in Minnesota, from the tomatoes at Bushel Boy and the flour from General Mills, and the pepperonis and the sausage from Hormel, and the mushrooms and the different varieties, and the cheese that comes from the cows, and all of the ingredients that go into making a pizza. And again, it's another one of those light bulb moments, and they go, wow, my favorite food, everything is grown right here in Minnesota. And it talks about where it comes from and what farms. And the other piece that they really like that comes in with this is the personal stories where they go out to a farm. The kids really connect with that and like that piece. And it's just a great piece. The other thing as a teacher that I like is that they go back and they talk about each issue has a historical piece that goes back. So I'm able to go back and say, do you remember in Chapter 7 when we were talking about sodbusters? Or do you remember in Chapter 11 when we were talking about General Mills and Charles Pillsbury? And it goes back and it relates right to the textbook. And they're making those connections again with other things that they've read and learned in other subject areas.
Well, and one of the things teachers look for is continuity, and that breeds credibility. And so this is our 25th year of the Ag Mag. 25 years continuous service to teachers through Ag in the classroom. 2 years ago, we did a survey to teachers using the Ag Mag, and 25% of the market of teachers using the Ag Mag had used it for at least 15 continuous years.
That speaks well.
So that tells me that, in Owatonna, for example, you would have potentially every 6th grader for at least 15 years that would use the Ag Mag. So that's very important for the funders and for agriculture in general to understand that continuity breeds credibility, and that all of those kids at that level have some appreciation and connection to agriculture through the program.
Al, what's the future of Minnesota Ag in the classroom?
Well, as I mentioned before, it's really about teacher education and helping teachers. So I'm very fortunate that the Commissioner of Agriculture worked with the House and Senate Ag Committees, and we have new money to hire an education specialist, a teacher that will come on board to support the program. And to me, those areas are technology interface and then teacher training and helping teachers understand agriculture and how to embed it into their classroom. Now, Jen probably has a couple ideas of what she thinks this new teacher should do.
Well, I agree. I think that person really needs to interface the materials that we've got here already into a more, tech-savvy piece that the teachers can use that's going to be interactive.
Right.
Something that can be used on the smart board because, like I said, our day of chalkboards and whiteboards are gone. So it's going to have, and somebody who has some experience, I think, in agriculture is going to be a plus, where they can then, like you said, our day and age of teachers who have experience with agriculture is dwindling. We need somebody who's going to have some experience in agriculture that can help gap that comfort level for them.
And the whole ag community is talking about the need for more ag literacy, so this is just another piece of that puzzle, and we've got plenty of work for this teacher.
Jen, can you tell us, in a nutshell, why you do this?
I absolutely love kids. I love teaching, and people like Al make my job really easy by providing me with the tools I need to prepare my kids, you know, for the future and beyond. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jen Hanson from Owatonna. Al Withers, Minnesota Department of Ag. Why do you do this?
Well, I do that because I think it's really great public service, and I just love to see students and teachers want to learn about agriculture, and I know then that they'll have a better appreciation of how agriculture is part of their life. But I really do it to help teachers and students.
And you do it well, and so do you, Jen. Thanks for joining us on Farm Connections. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Jen.
Al.
Appreciate it.
Often the best way to learn something is through personal experience. Those of you who work on a farm already know each day brings a new lesson. On our next segment of Farm Connections, we'll meet two farmers, twins in fact, who have lifetimes of knowledge gained through years of farming. I'd like to introduce to you Laverne and Vernon Hoffman, my dad and my uncle, who love to share their knowledge of farm living.
We always farmed together. Well, we kind of had no choice but got stuck into farming, right?
I suppose.
That's what we were doing, so we kept on. We're the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, sometimes I say he's Minneapolis and I'm St. Paul.
We always lived in Minnesota, so I said we're the Minnesota.
And then this is the Gopher State. We go for this, we go for that.
we see little kids, look at him, look at me. And
Oh yeah,
And
the mother is holding the little one. They look both ways. You can see they're looking at him. They kind of laugh about it. Well, not too long ago though, he went to get a haircut, and then and 2 weeks later he goes in there. Oh my gosh, your hair grew like that?
says, wasn't you in here a little bit ago? I said, no.
Yeah, that's why we don't want the same doctor we got, because we are a couple of different people.
This is the first place we lived. We were born on this farm, and but we moved away, so we don't remember too much, but we do remember some. We had our grandma gave us a little wagon, and she came out here one day, and Laverne had the wheel off of it. Well, she was so disappointed, and Ma said, "Oh, don't worry, he'll put it back on." So that's his first repair job. In the 30s, was it 32 or so, we lived where we are now.
First year, we didn't have no foundation in the house, and it was real cold, but they had thrash machine wheels. We still got the thrash machine wheels. Moved a 14 by 20 house down the end of the road. They got it for $200, and they set it up. We lived in that for quite a few years.
Well, I'm still living there.
We slept in a house with the rafters and shingle nails sticking out.
Yes.
You'd put your head under a cover. So,
Well, wintertime you'd have frost on them.
yeah, there was frost.
You'd
on it.
have snow by the window a little bit. Came
Well,
in.
the chimney too. By the chimney is
Yeah.
snowbank.
That was enjoyable.
It didn't hurt us. That's why we're still here.
There was a neighbor girl, she says, "How in the world do you pull that thrash machine through the field?" Well, we said, you know, you don't, you bring the bundles to it. Oh, they couldn't understand it. Oh, that was a long time ago in the 40s. See, everybody thrashed before that. They had thrash machines. But it was fun to thrash too, because the neighbors would get together and you'd have a bunch, eight neighbors or something. They'd all come with their wagons and load up the bundles, and they always had a good dinner.
One time, believe it or not, Dad had a thrash machine, and we had a John Deere B with lights on and a big two-wheel trailer that hold a lot of bundles, and we kept going out there, but the moon was shining for the tractor and thrash machine, so you could see there pretty good, but we kept going out and get bundles and wasn't done, didn't get them all, last one picked up till 2 o'clock at night. We thrashed 2 o'clock. And then we had to go home and do the chores.
It took a half a day, every day, just to do the chores and clean out the barn. Our first place by Dexter there was a guy, our Dad couldn't figure out why that cow would be kind of dry every morning. Well, he found out there was a hitchhiker or somebody up on the haymow, and he'd come down when nobody's around and milk the cow for lunch. Well, Dad found out one time, and Dad called the Dexter sheriff, said, "There's a guy here, could you come out and get him?" Well, no, he's out of our territory. Well, so Dad loaded him up in the car and brought him to Dexter. He's in your territory now.
Dad had a single roll cultivator. You sat on that. You didn't get much done each day, and then it was so you cross cultivate too, but you got your feet so you can change the kind of move things so you miss the corn, get the weeds and miss the corn.
Down to Charles City, Iowa, they made Hart Power tractors. Dad worked in the factory there in the early 20s. He helped put Hart Powers together. And he said at that time the factory, on the end, if it got it all done, if it didn't run right, they said they melted it all over and made it all over again. Well, then we farmed with Dad 1 year. Then he died the next year. So we were glad we had 1 year. Of course, Dad died in 1946. November the 16th, the crop was all in the field. It was mud that year. And it took us till the last of January to harvest. And then, boy, did it snow then. The neighbors offered to help us. And I said, well, you got all you can do, we'll keep on.
Well, nowadays they got such fast machinery.
Yeah, they'd gladly come and help us.
Sure, this is the gear. Then press it down. You can stand on this. Some people say, what good old days, but you'll hear 40s, 50s, they were good years for everybody. Things were reasonable, and you buy good products. But I don't know why they really call it. Some didn't think it was good old days, but I didn't think they were so bad.
Yeah, you might get tired. You never quite retire.
KSMQ congratulates our FFA Student Leader of the Week, Molly Frank, President of the Spring Valley Wyckoff FFA.
I had been an officer in my chapter since 9th grade, and it helped me develop more teamwork, and that helped me become a better leader too. I was president this last year, and so it helped me talk in front of people better and be better organized. the Farm Business Management CDE. I've done that since 9th grade, and we got second in state for 2 years in a row, my sophomore and junior year, and that was really exciting. And I learned a lot about like how a farm is run and like all the expenses involved in running a farm and how you need to manage your money and be smart about that. And then I did my proficiency through like working on my family's farm, and that was just like I was forced to keep like good records of all my hours, of all my like income that I earned doing hourly wages. It always looks really good on your resume when you're in like leadership events like this, and it helps you like with service hours, because we did like a community garden and we rake leaves at the nursing home. So it helps you like be more involved in the community, and I think that's important, and I'll probably be more involved in the community now on. There's a large need for like large animal veterinarians because there's older people retiring and there's like a big need for them, and I decided that that would be a good field for me because I love working with animals. I don't want to be stuck in an office all the time, and I like the outdoors and doing something different every day. If parents are looking for a good organization for their kids to be involved in, I think FFA is a great one. It's something that you remember all your life and that will help you later on in life.
Thank you for joining us on Farm Connections. We hope you enjoyed this episode dedicated to learning. Please tune in next week for more great information on Farm Connections.